We're so used to that dynamic.
Well, it was funny for the wedding because I told Wilson that before he even met the bridesmaids, I said, they're all pretty tall. So then he looked at me, so are we going to be like the Hobbit crew or something like that?
Exactly.
But we had fun.
Yeah. Well, you take our photographs in such a way that no one would ever realize I'm actually towering 4 inches over Rodney.
You know, 4 inches over.
No, when I have my heels on.
Okay.
I put on 4-inch heels and Musa takes our photographs. Look at our engagement shoot.
The engagement shoot was nice.
You would never know from those shots that I had 4-inch heels on.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Yeah. I think that what sold us on going with you was the engagement shot. It was one of those experiences that I haven't had before, where a photographer took some time to understand us, took some time to figure out what works for us, how to get us to smile and be authentic. And it's just the little things that you capture that just made the experience so much memorable.
I saw your work at a wedding show we went to. It was a
Yeah,
wedding show,
I think so,
and I kept telling Rodney, I'm like, I really like his work. I really like his work. One of the things that stood out to me, you know, it was every couple you photographed, there was a different story for me. There was a different story that I felt like I knew these people. I'd never met them, but I could almost say, I think I get them. I get these people. I know who they are from, you know, what was on your blog, and you were always updating. So it became like an adventure for me to go, okay, what does he have new now? And we're sitting there going back and forth going, wow, I think I know these different couples. And then you took our photos for our engagement shoot. And it was like, he got us. We spent half the time laughing and cracking jokes. Rodney's not comfortable being photographed. He is, you're not.
Well, Ego was quite entertaining.
Ego was.
I'll never forget the whole thing with the
bear?
No, it's wolves.
The wolves.
The wolves. The sign, beware of wolves. And you said, oh, I don't see any wolves. Ego says, well, I don't think that they're putting the sign there for no reason.
That is
Let me tell you about that sign.
It's true. You know, it was just there to, you know, you captured us, and you know, I remember getting those engagement pictures. Well, we left the shoot happy. We hadn't even seen the pictures yet, and we felt we had a connection. It was natural. It was comfortable. And then we saw the shots, and we were like, "That's us." On in photos. You know, silly things that you know we're laughing, and you have no clue what we're laughing about, but it's probably some silly joke or something fun that he said.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it just came down to that connection.
Connection and equality.
Connection and quality were the high selling points for us. I mean, even down to when you came to the room at the hotel for the wedding. I mean,
extra mile.
It was just the whole atmosphere just kind of livened up with the guys. I remember someone put on some music and you started bouncing around. Right, and so it got them into that whole mood, and it was a fun experience, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one of the things, other things, connection and equality, but the willingness to go the extra mile. When we were looking for photographers, we never had any other photographer offer to say, you know what, if I'm free the day of your rehearsal, I'm going to stop by so I can see who everyone is and, you know, meet them and kind of, and scope out the place so we can feel out things. We always felt that if we said, you know, Musa, we're changing our venue and we need you to go scope it out again. If we said that, luckily we didn't have to, but if we'd said that, you would have been in the car and gone and taken a look and said, okay, I have a plan.
Yes.
You know, and that, you know, I really loved that you were willing to go that extra mile. And when you came in, you had already done your homework.
Yeah.
And our bridal party already knew who you were.
Yeah.
And our families knew who you were. So it was just, it was a smooth process.
Yeah. And even the location, I remember, because you were hoping to get some shots in the park
It was a nice pathway that you have seen.
Exactly.
And I went a few weeks before and I checked it out. And I said, that's great, but you don't actually need to go there. So ideally, we can take everything inside. And how did that work?
It worked out
Perfectly.
really well.
So same thing for me, like I want to minimize on guesswork.
Yes.
I want to minimize on hassle.
Yes.
Because it will show on the pictures
Yes.
at the end of the day. So
And that day the weather was just terrible.
yeah.
We were supposed to be outside in the
Yeah.
gazebo, and it was just a mess out there. It was cold, it was
Yeah.
raining the day before,
Yeah.
the grounds were muddy.
I'm glad we didn't go outside. I don't know if I could
You would have
handle-
frozen out there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
bridesmaids would have frozen. At least
Yes.
I had a whole bunch of stuff under the dress to
Yeah.
make you know.
And it took you a while, guys, to decide because you had to discuss it.
Yes.
Obviously, professional, properly done wedding photography is not cheap.
No.
No.
Obviously,
No.
and I meet a lot of couples who would face that fact, face that reality. It's not, and it took you a while to
Yes.
decide on that investment.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what went through your mind. How did the process go? How did you finally come to say, you know what, it's a worthy investment, let's put our heart in it? How did you do that?
Well,
I'm curious.
You know, like every couple, you start off with a budget, and ours was pretty tight.
Yes.
It was honestly, we had half of what, you know, our final photography payment budgeted for photography. And we sat there and it, you know, meeting you, looking at your work, seeing how you worked with us. And each of us had picked our top 3 things that we wanted for our wedding. And for me, my top 3 was our photographs, recognizing that when the wedding was all said and done, the only thing we'd have left, tangible thing, outside of our memory, would be our photographs. And we remember once we got to that place, we looked at the budget and we realized we had to do something because we compared, and we had kept looking at your blog and other photographers' blogs and other photographers' portfolios, and it always came back to you. You know, your work was the thing that we just loved.
I must admit, I pushed back a whole lot.
You did?
I said, oh my gosh, you're going to be bankrupt.
He said, babes, it's twice what we budgeted. Where are we going to get it from?
But I then went online, and before that, I remember my neighbor said to me, he said, he's a really good friend, he said to me, when he had his wedding, he had given out everyone, you know, those disposable cameras.
Yeah.
And it turns out the guests took them home. So he has no photos.
Because
he probably caught...
something happened to his photographer.
No.
They had a photographer, but the photographer was bad.
Well, anyway.
That was years
Something
ago.
along those lines. But he didn't have the photos because he wanted to get like those candid shots of
Yes.
people going around,
Yeah.
and he just lost all of that. He said, that's one of those things that you don't want to mess up. You want to make sure that you get the proper person to do it. And so I went online and I started researching what to look for in a photographer. And something came up and it said, although price is important, you have to go ahead and look at the fact of whether or not you're comfortable with the person you're working with. Do you like their material? And remember that it's a return on investment. Many people spend over $20,000 on a wedding. To go ahead and spend a fraction of that on photography, they say on average you pay about 25% of your wedding cost is going for photography. And it's your only return on your investment. Everything else goes away after that day. But the photos, they stay around for over 20 years. And for me, I had to go ahead and look at it from the standpoint of, okay, 25% of our budget over the course of 20 years, how much does that really equate to?
I like that way of putting it.
I have to admit,
And I had to go back to her and said, you know what? She even started crying at one night. And I said to her, you know, babes,
It was frustrating to sit there.
I know it's expensive, but we'll find a way to make it happen, and we did. We came to you and we were able to negotiate, and you know what?
A payment plan that would work for us.
It worked out well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what we liked is that working with you, it was not so much about the money, it was about making sure that your clients got quality work,
Yes.
and you sorted out how that payment was going to work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Weddings can be stressful, they can be very expensive, but having someone that is actually looking at you as a person and saying, I want the best for you,
Exactly.
and I'm willing to do whatever it is that we can do to make it this happen.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much
And
about
not many people can do that.
it's not so much about you are my paycheck as it is, you know, you are people who you made us feel like it was a privilege for you to capture our wedding.
It is.
And
It is.
you know, when we were going, it's a privilege. You know, for us, we're privileged to have you. But you made us feel like, you know, we were your honor. You know, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, to have that personalized experience, but also to have your artistry. I'm probably the artsy fartsy one.
Yeah, she's the awesome. You on the other hand, I'm straight cut.
Straight up. But to get him to fall in love with artsy fartsy, that's an accomplishment.
The congratulations, man.
And I don't normally smile in photos. It's usually the straight look.
Exactly.
Oh, really? You're all smiles on the wedding day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a smile, always blinks.
Yes, I'm a heavy blinker.
You know, to just capture all of that, to capture the story, you know, to get beautiful shots, not to mention the fact that when we talk about our wedding, we're a few months out, but when we talk about our wedding or we bump into family members or we're talking to them on the phone and they mention the wedding, in our top 3 things that people talk about, you're always in that list.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone talks about how great you were. I don't think I've had a conversation with anybody about the wedding who did not mention, you're the best photographer.
Oh, and the peep show at the end where people just got a taste of,
Yes.
of the photos throughout the day. It was the icing on the cake.
Yes. People who missed it. Everyone who was there were talking to all the people who had left early about missing it. You didn't see it? Oh my God! You don't know what you missed. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's creating those hilarious moments as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the quality. It's definitely treating us like people and really understanding who we are. And it's definitely going the extra mile. Even on the wedding day, I can remember Ego and Roy, and I'm sure there's a photo of this somewhere. It wasn't in our group, but honestly, I wouldn't mind having that photo. We're back there with Rodney helping tie my bustle because we pulled it out to take photos, and the bridal party was missing in action, and it was the 2 photographers and Rodney under the dress tying my bustle. I mean, where do you get that? Which photographer volunteers to help the bride tie her dress back up so she can go on to the next event? You know, it was just the flexibility. You know, things weren't perfect. We had a room that turned around, and you adapted, and no one would have known that what you were expecting was not what you got in terms of how that room was set up. No one would have known that room was backlit.
Yeah.
And you had the challenge of taking those photographs with, you know, a backlit room, which you weren't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the willingness to work with us to try to capture our families in these big group shots when that's absolutely chaotic.
Yeah.
You know, and just giving us instructions of, you know, if you want to do this, it's hard, but let me tell you what are the things you can do to capture those moments in the best way possible.
Yeah.
You know, give us a list, delegate someone to corral people, and here we go, and we got it done, and you know, in a smooth fashion.
Yeah.
And we have those photos to show going forward, and it's, I think, I am happy he finally got there with me, and you know, once he was there, it was, you know, we started playing around with the budget and figuring out, okay, what can we do to afford this cost? We didn't expect it, but is there something we can do to make this dream come true, that at the end of the day, 40 years from now, when we pick up our album and we flip through, we can smile as proudly as we smiled the day we got married.
40 years from now, she won't be able to lift the album.
That's why I have you to lift the album. Exactly. And I'll bring the magnifying glass for you. So we'll be all right. I bring the magnifying glass and you lift the album.
Okay. You're already practicing.
Exactly. But we're happy. We're honestly no regrets. I think we would have greatly regretted it had we gone with someone else.
And you know, if anyone is ever considering you and not quite sure, we would always recommend doing the engagement shot.
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
The engagement shot, it clarifies everything. After that, you don't even have another doubt in your mind on whether or not you're the photographer for them.
Exactly.
For us, it was, after seeing the quality of work, we could not work with you.
It would have been a bad decision. It would have been a bad
bad
decision to, to just say, our budget is this. We can't afford better quality.
Yeah.
You pay for your quality, and sometimes it takes some creative problem solving.
Yeah. People handling.
Yes.
Backup plans.
Flexibility,
Exactly.
adaptability, you name it.
And I think photographers are the only vendors that will be with you throughout the whole day, and they have to deal with everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, everyone just talked about you. And they were like, he was so nice, he was so good, he was wonderful. And just to listen, we gave you free rein and said, take the candid shots. We want to capture those, but we also want to capture our families. This is, one of the few times we get so many of our family members, because we will have large extended families in the same place, and at the end of the day, to see that you managed to make it through, you guys, and capture, pictures of all of these people.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't think we would have gotten
No.
going with another photographer. You guys barely you were always going because we were always going. And where we were, you were.
Yeah.
And you were very helpful, introducing us to the family members, saying, hey, look, we need photos of my relatives here and there. And you had a beautiful plan. So that was luxury for me. You were very diligent, well organized. That was extremely helpful.
Advice I would give to brides, definitely make a shot list. And it took me 4 hours to do that shot list, and then I sent it off to him to check and make sure I didn't miss anything, and is there any shot that you want that I missed? But make a shot list and send it off early, so you can review it with the photographer. And
you always forget stuff on the shot list, so you need it early.
Yes, do it early so that you can think about it later and add things, and delegate a couple people in your family, give them a shot list so they can help to make sure that those shots get captured, because when on the day of, you're not going to be walking around as a bride with your shot list to double check to make sure everything gets taken, and you're going to have too many things on your head. So make a shot list and get it off to the photographer early.
Planning a wedding is a major undertaking. And I meet a lot of couples who are planning their weddings and they're a bit under stress, and there are a lot of things they haven't figured it out. So what advice would you give? What tips would you give to couples who are planning a wedding? What to avoid, what to look for, what to pay attention to?
Number one tip.
Yeah.
Make a list of everything that you need to take with you to the venue. I forgot her wedding gift.
You did.
Oh my God. Yes, I remember.
And so, of course, it was myself and my groomsmen barreling down the street at 90 kilometers an hour in a 60 zone, trying to find flowers and a card and everything else. And we all saying to ourselves, we hope we don't get pulled over.
Not today.
So
make a list of what you need to bring with you to the venue.
Yes.
Honestly, the most helpful thing someone told us, pick your top 3. Each of you pick the top 3 things about this wedding, because there are all these components. Pick the 3 things that are most important to you, especially if you have tight families like us, who everyone wants to help and everyone has an opinion about how it should be done and what should look good. Or if you're like us, crossing cultures, where there's certain cultural expectations that are a part of these this venue, this wedding that, you know, doesn't necessarily fit in with a traditional. We had 3 different cultures we were dealing with.
Yeah.
But so we picked our top 3 each, and we sat down and we thought about what are the 3 things. You know, for you it was the food,
Yes.
the DJ,
Yes, the food and DJ.
and I think the seeing me happy was your third.
So was it the first?
And
It was somewhere
it
in
was
there.
the top 3.
That's great.
And for me it was the photographer, the live music, and what was my third?
No, it was the photographer.
The live music, yeah.
No, it was the decoration.
The decorations and the live
Before.
music. So those were my 3.
Mm.
And
It wasn't making me happy.
you'd be happy you were marrying me. But once we had those 3, everything else kind of we were able to let go of the other things. So, you know, when people had opinions about things, we weren't worried about, you know, changing our minds, or, you know, somebody saying, you know, this is how I wanted it. One of our parents said, this is how it should go. We went, well, it's not one of the top 3. If they really want it that way, it's not that big
Go
of a
for
deal. Let's just let that go, and it will be that way. And
Some things I let go of that.
yeah, and
Other things I was more opinionated about.
yeah. We were, but it was definitely easier though.
Yes,
to not hold on to everything, because
Yeah, and think this is going to
exactly,
be.
you're worried about the invitations, and you're worried about who should sit beside who. You know, and you're worried about the timing, and you're worried about the dress and the shoes and the jewelry and the tux and the tie, and
Yeah.
you know,
And you guys forgot your ties, so.
Yeah, they forgot the ties, but we
other
But yeah.
businesses.
It's not the top priority. You got it.
We got all the ties.
We
in
got all the
time.
ties.
They got they got their time. But that's the other thing. Something will always go wrong, and it's not about what's going wrong. It's about how you react to what's going wrong. And I don't think any of our guests would have known that
I didn't
things
notice anything.
had gone wrong at our wedding, and that there were little hiccups because of how we chose to react to it.
Yeah. Also importantly is choosing the right venue. Really and truly, we looked at many different venues, and you have to be careful with choosing a venue because you have to remember there's transportation costs as well as time. You need time for your photographer to take photos wherever you go. So choosing a venue that allows that flexibility of having great decor for the photos becomes really, really vital in terms of saving you a lot of time and effort to move from one location to the next. In addition to that, I mean, just having the right location, it becomes that backup just in case.
It's also the people at the
Yeah,
venue.
it's the people at the venue,
Yeah.
but it's the backup as well in case you decided to go out to some ground somewhere to take photos and it pours and rains. At least your venue has enough decor to go ahead and allow for perfect photos, allow for flexibility of photos and creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great choice.
Yeah.
Because the venue you guys selected had or has all these elements.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that space that we used, with the weather that you had on your day, we could have been stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been horrible.
Or it would have been a bad
It would
experience.
have been very cold. You'd have all the fake smiles because we were all cold
Your
outside.
skin would be blue. And you
Rodney would have fog coming from our mouths. You'd have to airbrush out all the fog. Any other advice we have? It's one day. Even if you have those bridezilla moments, remember it's one day.
Yes.
Yes.
Your fiance will at some point lose her mind.
Yes, there will be a
For all
meltdown.
the stress that
There
she
will
has.
be a meltdown. It's just.
And if she and her mother decide on getting into an argument, just go ahead and just give her a hug, say it's okay, send her off to get a massage.
step aside.
No, but it's just.
It will happen.
Well, remember you're a team. I think that's
Yeah.
that's the most important. That you have the same goal at the end of the day, regardless of what's going there. This is kind of planning the wedding is actually like a mini test for what marriage is like. There's ups and downs, and you know, you don't always agree on what color things should be, or what the food should be, or what items. And it takes just being calm about it and figuring out that you're on the same team and working through whatever disagreements you have to get to the end. You know, we weren't on the same page with the photographer at first
Yeah.
in terms of how much the vision was the same, The willingness to spend money was a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But we worked together to find that common ground and
Yeah.
make those decisions.